A very good morning. This presentation is brought to you by Resonate International with a mission to leverage knowledge worldwide. The topic being covered is forced migration, humanity's nightmare and global responsibility. Ladies and gentlemen, forced migration is nothing short of a global humanitarian crisis. It has escalated to unprecedented levels, reshaping societies, straining global resources, and posing a moral dilemma for the world. As of mid-2023, over 110 million people have been forcibly displaced from their homes. This staggering figure encompasses refugees, asylum seekers, internally displaced persons, all of whom have been uprooted due to conflict, violence, persecution, and environmental disasters. To truly grasp the severity of this crisis, let's examine how the numbers have evolved. In 2013, there were 51.2 million forcibly displaced individuals worldwide. By 2015, the effects of Syrian civil war, the rise of violence in the Middle East, and African conflicts saw this number to grow to 65.3 million. In 2019, the global count surged to 79.5 million as more conflicts and natural disasters displaced millions. The COVID-19 pandemic exacerbated vulnerabilities, and by 2021, the number reached 89.3 million. As of 2023, with conflicts such as the Ukraine war, political instability in Afghanistan, Myanmar, and climate-induced displacements, this number has now surpassed 110 million. This growth, nearly 60 million people added in just a decade, is a glaring indicator of our collective failure to mitigate the root causes of forced migration. The host countries also are suffering greatly. The nations, particularly in Europe, Africa, and parts of Middle East, have absorbed the brunt of this influx. Nations such as Turkey, which is hosting over 3.6 million Syrian refugees, Uganda and Germany have shown remarkable resilience in absorbing large number of refugees. Yet, many millions remain in refugee camps and temporary settlements, some for over a decade, as in the case of the Rohingya in Bangladesh or Palestinians in Lebanon. Despite efforts, less than 3% of refugees worldwide are resettled each year. The absorption of these migrants into local economies has been uneven, with some finding employment and getting integrated, while others face stark barriers due to language, skills mismatch, and discrimination. Countries like the US and Canada have provided employment pathways, but cultural integration remains low and racial tensions are simmering. In many European countries, public resentment over job competition, welfare strains, and the perceived erosion of cultural identity has fueled anti-immigration sentiments. This has led to the deportation plans in place like Denmark, where migrants are being sent back under safe return policies despite continued unrest in their home countries. Many other countries are also looking at the same kind of plans. There is a frustration and division, rising tensions also in host societies. As migration flows increase, so do societal divisions. Host populations in Europe, South Africa, and the Middle East are increasingly divided over the long-term consequences. The perceived cultural and racial divides have led to growing frustrations. This is evident in countries like France, where migrant-heavy suburbs are frequently cited in political rhetoric, and South Africa, where xenophobic violence has erupted in response to migrants from neighboring countries. Economic inequality and employment challenges among migrants have compounded the issues. While some nations like Germany and Sweden have benefited from the migrant labor, filling their labor shortages and boosting the economy, the overall impact on societal cohesion remains fraught. Can these societies manage the demographic change, or will these divides worsen? Is a question. Truly speaking, it is a broken system. The role of the UN and international agencies comes into a big question mark. The United Nations, alongside other international organizations like the International Organization for Migration, have struggled to create a sustainable solution for the migration crisis. Despite decades of funding and effort, no single model or policy has emerged as a resounding success. Countries continue to struggle independently, often leaving the most vulnerable stranded. A 2022 audit of UN refugee efforts revealed that while over $10 billion is spent annually on refugee camps and aid, the utilization of funds is inefficient, with large amounts being consumed by the bureaucratic processes. Funding shortfalls are also widespread. UNHCR was only able to meet 57% of its funding requirements in 2022, leaving millions of refugees underserved. The UN's attempts to halt forced migration at its source have also largely failed, as is evidenced in Syria, Myanmar, and Venezuela. No clear pathway for conflict resolution has resulted in stagnant or worsening conditions, leading to even more displacements. Looking forward, where do we go from here? The problem of forced migration demands immediate action at multiple levels. First, wealthy nations need to step up and meet their funding commitments to organizations like UNHCR. Secondly, there needs to be a renewed emphasis on peace building in conflict zones, with special attention to resolving long-standing crises. Host nations must work on developing long-term integration policies, balancing humanitarian obligations with their national interest. While there is an urgent need for migrant labor in aging economies like Japan, Spain, and Italy, the cultural and societal aspects must also be managed carefully to avoid backlash. Finally, a message to all stakeholders, to migrants: know that your resilience is remarkable, and while many challenges lie ahead, your fight for safety and dignity is valid. Also, to remember is the fact that you need to consciously try and integrate yourself well with your host country's social, cultural, and work environment in a disciplined and respectful way, so as to gain trust and confidence as a welcomed guest ready to contribute your best. To the host countries, the challenges of migration may feel overwhelming, but these people bring potential and new energy that can enrich your societies if managed well. They will need some hand holding and direction setting so as to get integrated. To the global community and the UN, every soul matters. It is time to act decisively, finding the solutions and holding accountable those who continue to perpetuate violence and instability. Forced migration is a humanitarian crisis that won't resolve itself. Ladies and gentlemen, nobody can afford to turn a blind eye to this any longer. This is not just a political issue, but a humane one. Governments and institutions must unite and work together to build pathways that respect the dignity of every displaced person and secure a future for those still on the move. Forced migration is a humanitarian crisis that won't resolve itself. Ladies and gentlemen, nobody can afford to turn a blind eye to this any longer. This is not just a political issue, but a humane necessity. Governments and institutions must unite and work together to build pathways that respect the dignity of every displaced person and secure a future for those still on the move. Precious human lives must be protected and taken care, as on their well-being depends the wellness of our planet's ecosystem. Good luck, thank you very much, and very best wishes.